Today Dung Fu invites you to listen to the Dhammapada, one of the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni. The 71st verse is from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel TN Thai in the USA. Verily, an evil deed committed does not immediately bear fruit, just as milk curdles not at once, smoldering. It follows the fool like fire covered with ashes. When we listen to this verse, we are hearing one of the deepest truths about karma. Karma is not immediate like the snap of a finger. It is subtle, patient, and precise. The Buddha, with his boundless compassion, spoke this verse to awaken our mindfulness, to teach us that every action, whether wholesome or unwholesome, carries the potential of consequence. Yet, like milk that does not curdle right away, the result may not appear until time and conditions mature. The Buddha's teaching on karma is not a doctrine of punishment. It is the natural law of cause and effect, moving through the fabric of the universe. When we perform a deed, that action leaves a trace. It enters the flow of consciousness, shaping the seeds of future experience. Just as a seed planted in the soil waits for rain, sunlight, and season, so too does karma await the conditions that allow it to ripen. The fool, the Buddha says, believes he has escaped the results of his actions simply because no suffering has yet appeared. He may continue harming others, lying, stealing, or feeding his anger, thinking, "I am safe. No result has come." Yet, the Buddha warns us, the fire still burns beneath the ashes, hidden, but not extinguished, quiet, but not gone. When the wind of conditions arrives, that fire bursts forth and consumes all. The wise one lives with mindfulness, aware that actions are not isolated moments but threads in the tapestry of existence. The wise one sees that karma, once set in motion, continues until it bears fruit. Therefore, he lives carefully, tenderly, in harmony with the Dharma. In the time of the Buddha, this verse was spoken regarding a man named Kunda, a smith. The story tells that this man, out of greed and delusion, became an instrument in a terrible act. He was persuaded by others to commit harm toward the venerable Mahamoggallana, one of the Buddha's two chief disciples, who was renowned for his great supernatural powers. Mahamoggallana was a saint, an arahant, whose heart was free of all defilement. Yet even he experienced the ripening of past karma. Because of the deeds he had done in a former life, there remained one unexhausted karmic result, to be attacked and killed. And so, through the chain of causes and conditions, Kunda and his companions carried out this evil act. At the time of the deed, nothing seemed to happen. The world appeared unchanged. The evil men returned home, perhaps even satisfied. They saw no punishment, no immediate result, and so they thought themselves safe. But the Buddha, through his deep vision, declared that their karma was not gone. It was only sleeping beneath the surface. Like milk before it turns sour, like fire beneath ashes, the heat of karma continued to burn silently. The Buddha's words teach us not to be deceived by appearances. The fool thinks that because he does not see, nothing exists. But the wise understand that cause and effect are subtle, unfolding through time, waiting for the right condition to ripen. One day, Kunda's life began to change. His mind grew restless, his health declined, and misfortunes began to gather around him. The peace he once felt vanished. He was haunted by dreams of fire and suffering. Slowly, the invisible became visible. The fire beneath the ashes flared. The milk that once seemed pure began to sour. This is the nature of karma. It moves beyond our control, beyond the limits of time, beyond even this single lifetime. The Buddha once said that even if you travel to the ends of the world, you cannot escape the results of your own actions. They follow you like a shadow. Yet, my friends, the Buddha did not speak this to frighten us. He spoke to awaken compassion and wisdom. For when we understand the law of cause and effect, we begin to live carefully, with mindfulness, knowing that every moment is a seed. Every thought is a seed. Every word and gesture carries energy. That will one day return to us. The fool acts carelessly, driven by impulse. He believes the small evil is harmless. He believes the small good is insignificant. He says, this is just a small lie, a small harm, a small theft. But the Buddha said that even a small drop of water fills a jar over time. The fool's jar fills slowly with evil, one small drop at a time, until one day it overflows. This verse is like a lantern. It shines on the unseen. It shows us that just because the fruit has not ripened, it does not mean the seed is gone. In this way, the Buddha taught patience and awareness. The wise person understands that even though karma is unseen, it is unfailing. And so, he guards his actions, his speech, and his mind. He treats others gently, speaks truthfully, and purifies his thoughts, for he knows that whatever he sows, he shall reap. The Buddha compared the fool's ignorance to a man who touches a burning coal covered with ashes. The fool laughs, thinking it harmless, but when the wind blows, the fire leaps up and burns his hand. In the same way, the unwholesome deed burns when the conditions arise. Let us take this deeply into our hearts. Many people say, I have done wrong, but nothing bad has come. Perhaps karma is not real. Yet, the Buddha reminds us that karma does not work according to our impatience. It ripens when all conditions align, not before. When we understand this, we stop judging by appearances. We stop saying, the wicked prosper, the good suffer. We see instead that the wheel of karma turns slowly, but it turns with perfect balance. What we experience today is the fruit of yesterday's seeds. What we will experience tomorrow depends on what we plant today. In this way, the Buddha taught personal responsibility and liberation. He showed us that our happiness and suffering are not given by gods or fate, but created by our own minds. When we live unmindfully, we create suffering for ourselves. When we live with awareness, compassion, and right understanding, we create peace. The Buddha said, mind precedes all things. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. Therefore, we must cultivate the mind like a gardener tending his field, pulling weeds of greed and anger, watering the seeds of wisdom and love. Karma is not punishment. It is the compassionate reflection of the universe teaching us what we have not yet learned. When we suffer from our deeds, the suffering itself is the lesson. It calls us back to mindfulness. It says, do not repeat this. Learn the truth of interdependence. The Buddha's compassion is vast. He never abandoned even those who committed evil. He saw them not as sinners, but as beings trapped in ignorance. He knew that within every being lies the seed of awakening. Even Kunda, the smith, was not eternally damned. The Buddha saw that through repentance, through understanding, even he could begin to purify his heart. When we hear the story of Kunda, we must not look at him with judgment. Instead, we should see him as a mirror. How often do we act without mindfulness? How often do we think a small harm is nothing? How often do we cover the fire of anger beneath the ashes of our excuses? The fool is not someone else. The fool is the part of us that forgets the Dharma. But when we listen deeply to this verse, that inner fool can awaken. To awaken is to see the long chain of causes behind every moment. To awaken is to understand that the present is the child of the past and the parent of the future. The wise see this, and therefore act with love. When the Buddha taught this verse, he was offering us a shield, a protection from our own ignorance. For when we live with mindfulness, we no longer plant the seeds of regret. Let us remember, the fire may be hidden beneath the ashes, but it still burns. The milk may seem sweet, but in time it will curdle if left unattended. So too, our deeds follow us. The only safety is in goodness, in purity of heart, in compassion for all beings. The Buddha said, Even the smallest spark can burn down a mountain. So too can a small act of greed, anger, or cruelty ignite great suffering if left unpurified. Therefore, the practice of mindfulness is not merely for monks or nuns. It is for every person who walks this path of life. Every action, every word, every thought matters. When we live with right view, we see that nothing disappears. All that we do becomes part of the stream of existence. To act with love is to sow peace in that stream. To act with hatred is to stir the fire of suffering. The wise plant peace. The fool plants fire. And though the fool may not yet feel the heat, the fire smolders still. The Buddha's compassion invites us to look deeply and live wisely. Let us begin this reflection by turning inward and asking ourselves, what seeds am I planting right now? Are they seeds of compassion or seeds of harm? Seeds of generosity or seeds of greed? Seeds of mindfulness or seeds of neglect? The future is not written. It grows from the seeds of this very moment. When we reflect upon the Buddha's teaching in this verse, we see that karma does not appear at once. An unwholesome act may seem forgotten or invisible. It may be ignored by the world, unnoticed by those around us, and even hidden from our own awareness. Yet, like a fire covered with ashes, it smolders beneath the surface, waiting for the conditions to ripen. The Buddha compares this to milk that curdles not immediately. A person may drink the milk thinking it fresh and sweet, but in time it sours. In the same way, the consequences of our actions may arise long after the deed is done. Therefore, the teaching is a gentle but firm reminder that nothing escapes the law of cause and effect. In the story of Kunda, the smith, we see this truth vividly illustrated. Kunda, through the influence of desire, fear, and delusion, participated in acts of harm that, at the time, seemed without consequence. The deed appeared to bring immediate gain or satisfaction. Yet, the ripening of karma is patient. It waits. It does not appear according to human expectation or impatience. In time, when the conditions are sufficient, the hidden fire ignites, bringing suffering to the one who committed the act. This is the invisible moral architecture of the universe, and the Buddha calls it attention to guide us away from ignorance and toward wisdom. The Buddha's teaching is not meant to frighten, but to awaken mindfulness. The verse asks us to consider carefully the quality of every thought, word, and action. Just as a farmer does not neglect the seeds he plants, the wise person does not neglect the seeds of karma he sows. Each action carries energy that will bear fruit. The wise act with attention, choosing deeds that will result in peace, happiness, and compassion. The foolish act without reflection, leaving a smoldering fire under the ashes, waiting for a time when they will suffer the consequences they thought they had escaped. The Buddha's words encourage self-inquiry. We are asked to examine our hearts. Do I act carelessly? Do I allow desire or anger to guide my deeds? Do I plant seeds that will grow into suffering for myself or others? Even small actions carry weight. Even small, unwholesome acts may ripple far into the future, like hidden sparks that eventually kindle a great blaze. Awareness and diligence in daily life are the true protection against unseen consequences. In Mahayana practice, we are taught that every being possesses Buddha nature. Even the fool has the potential for awakening. The hidden fire of past actions does not condemn us eternally. Rather, it is a teacher that shows the necessity of mindful practice. When we encounter suffering, we are given the opportunity to purify our heart. The Buddha taught that with sincere effort, even the most persistent karmic effects can be transformed through right understanding, repentance, and compassionate action. The story of Kunda shows the unfolding of karma in action. Initially, he did not perceive the consequences of his deeds. Later, the results emerged, bringing him suffering and regret. This suffering became the seed of awakening. Through witnessing the ripening of his own actions, he was able to recognize the law of cause and effect and eventually transform his life through mindfulness and virtuous deeds in our own lives. This teaching reminds us to act as the Buddha taught, with intention and clarity. It calls for mindfulness in every aspect, when we speak, when we listen, when we act in the world. Even when no immediate effect is seen, we must maintain awareness that our deeds will bear fruit in their own time. This creates a deep sense of responsibility and care, not only for ourselves, but for all sentient beings. The Buddha's compassionate vision teaches us that the hidden fire of karma is an opportunity for awakening. The unseen consequence of past deeds is not a punishment, but a mirror reflecting our own mind. When we see the suffering that arises from our actions, we are invited to cultivate renunciation, compassion, and wisdom. The Mahayana path teaches us to embrace this as a chance to purify our mind and to benefit others. Each moment of awareness, each act of kindness, transforms the hidden fire into a light that shines for all beings. Consider how this principle manifests in daily life. When anger arises and we act impulsively, the immediate world may not notice, yet within us the seeds of suffering are sown. When we speak harsh words, others may appear unaffected, yet these words remain in the field of consciousness, waiting to ripen. When we act with generosity, patience, and compassion, the seeds of merit are sown quietly, ripening in ways unseen but powerful. The Buddha teaches that patience with unseen consequences is itself a form of wisdom. The Mahayana perspective emphasizes not only personal liberation, but also the welfare of all beings. When we see that hidden fires exist within others as well, we cultivate compassion rather than judgment. The fool is not condemned, but understood. The person who acts out of ignorance is seen with the eyes of love, for within every being is the potential to awaken. This is the essence of the Bodhisattva vow, to transform suffering into wisdom, to turn ignorance into compassion, and to bring benefit to all beings. The Buddha encourages us to meditate on the impermanence and ripening of karma. By contemplating how actions bear fruit over time, we develop mindfulness in every thought, word, and deed. Through meditation, the hidden fire becomes visible, not as a source of fear, but as a guide toward right living. We begin to act consciously, to speak carefully, to think wisely. This is the cultivation of wisdom and the foundation for true peace. Even the seemingly small, insignificant actions are important. A kind word, a helping hand, or a smile may appear trivial, yet it plants seeds of merit whose fruits may be profound. Conversely, a moment of anger, a lie, or a careless act may carry consequences that emerge later in ways we cannot foresee. This is the hidden fire the Buddha describes. Awareness and discernment are the tools that allow us to navigate life without being consumed by the unseen flames of our own making. In practice, this verse guides us to embrace mindfulness and moral discipline. The precepts, meditation, and compassionate action are not abstract exercises. They are shields and tools to prevent the hidden fire from growing unchecked. By observing precepts, we limit the creation of unwholesome karma. Through meditation, we cultivate clarity and insight. By acting with compassion, we generate merit that supports our own well-being and the well-being of all beings. The Buddha teaches that even when karma ripens, the results need not be destructive if met with awareness and skillful means. The wise recognize the arising consequences, respond with understanding, and purify the mind. Suffering becomes a teacher. Misfortune becomes an opportunity for growth. Regret becomes the beginning of awakening. In this way, even the fire under ashes can be transformed into the light of wisdom. The story of Kunda ultimately illustrates this principle. The smoldering consequences of his actions eventually led him to see the truth of karma, to recognize his own ignorance, and to cultivate wisdom and compassion. His life was not destroyed by past actions. Instead, the unfolding of karma provided the conditions for transformation. The Buddha's teaching shows that the wise do not merely avoid evil. They understand, purify, and awaken through every experience. As we integrate this teaching into daily life, we learn to pause before acting. We learn to reflect on the long-term consequences of our choices. We cultivate kindness, patience, and generosity, knowing that these wholesome actions plant seeds whose fruits will support us and others in the future. We learn to observe the arising of anger, greed, and delusion, transforming them before they create suffering. Every thought, word, and action is an opportunity to awaken. The hidden fire of karma reminds us of the importance of vigilance and mindfulness. It calls us to live with awareness, to purify our mind, and to benefit all beings. By embracing this teaching, we align ourselves with the law of cause and effect, transforming our lives into a path of clarity, compassion, and liberation. Through deep reflection on this verse, we begin to see the profound wisdom of the Buddha. Karma is not abstract. It is the living law of life. Every action matters. Every intention matters. Every choice matters. And though the results may be unseen, they are real and powerful, guiding us toward either suffering or liberation. Let us, therefore, commit to mindful living. Let us act with clarity, speak with compassion, and cultivate thoughts of love and understanding. Let us purify our mind through meditation and right conduct. Let us transform the hidden fire of unwholesome karma into the light of wisdom. In this way, we follow the Buddha's guidance, walking the path of awakening with awareness, compassion, and diligence. Thank you for watching my video. Namo Ba. I wish to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your time.